welcome back to Screen Time Continuum. I'm Mike, and I'm joined with the boys tonight, Nick and Keelan. How y'all doing?
Good. What day is it? Wednesday? Yes.
Yeah.
Wednesday. Happy Wednesday.
Wednesday or Sunday?
It's one of those days.
Swanday. It's the day between Tuesday and Thursday.
There you go.
Keelan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Experiencing a bit of that hump day flavor as well. I'm not sure.
What's it taste like?
Yeah, the awkward. It's kind of like it's like a piece of bread that has a ball of mozzarella cheese that's cooked and done, but it's still just not. It's not doing what it's supposed to.
See, that's so much better than ass, because that's what I thought you were gonna say.
Oh well, if you put some pepper jack in there and you let it get cold.
Yeah, fair enough.
I have no idea what's going on between you two. I'm just gonna say that. I don't know.
Hey man, just placing codes out there for the fans to decipher.
Yeah, there you go. I had to run out for some batteries for my mic, so I'm a little discombobulated. It was like a one person line, but you're standing there like, just hurry up. You can't.
Plus, you have to do Frogger in order to get there. You have to cross like a major street.
Oh, that's fine. You just stop traffic like it's a proper movie. You just bolt across and like cars. It's great. Don't worry about that. Sure, somebody's going to get towed in a little bit, but no one will know it's my fault.
Good thing for pedestrian laws.
Good thing it's LA.
California did something right.
Yeah. So tonight, for approval of this Screen Time Continuum Society, I've brought one of my favorite movies of all time. Pi. It's from 1998. It's Darren Aronofsky's first film. From this, I believe he won a Sundance Award for Best Director and won a Spirit Award for Best Screenplay. And for me, this was one of those movies that got me into film. I'm one of those losers that took one film class and then started watching a bunch of movies, and my mind was being blown by the films that I found, and this was one of them. So yeah, I guess we could just jump right into it with that little. Well, I guess I should add a synopsis, right? That's the proper thing to do.
Yeah.
So yeah. No?
Yeah, for sure.
So this movie follows a kind of like alienated genius named Max Cohen, and he's obsessed with his number pi. He's a number theorist, a mathematician by trade, and he's trying to pretty much predict the stock market through this notion of pi. And it's the story of him trying to figure out the problem and all of these external forces kind of interacting with him. And it's the big juxtaposition between Wall Street and Jewish mysticism that collides together against him just trying to solve this problem. And that's kind of that's a decent synopsis of it. And what were your guys' first impressions of it?
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. For sure. My
good.
initial impressions, my first thoughts of this movie. Wow. You have to watch the whole movie to have any concept of whether or not you understand it. Unless I missed something. That's one. At the exact same time, I could understand, Mike, how it could open a door of intrigue. Just the process of thought that would go into even trying to make this a full circle, right? Beyond that,
I like it then.
Yeah. Beyond that, I saw some and heard some things that were probably a little over my head at the exact same time. A lot of things that made me like, wow, I will watch this movie probably 3 or 4 more times to see if I missed anything, piece some other things together. But overall, beginning to end, first thoughts. This is a very interesting, but not as complex, I think, as some people think it is type of a movie. It's not it's not really surface, but I don't think it's as complex. And I only say it that way because there are multiple topics, but I don't think there. I think there's only really one or two deep topics. Everything else is pretty normal as far as human nature. So yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. So like this is the first time I've watched or rewatched this movie in over a decade, and within that time span, I've gotten my degree and I study computer science. This was probably a little bit of an inspiration to get me into that field, as well as far as art inspiring life. And watching it again, I do realize how it just sort of like drops you into this ocean of math and just starts throwing things at you and drops you into this ocean of obsession because this main character becomes obsessed with solving this one problem.
Right.
And
And
it
that was the part I loved. That was the part that had me like, wait, all right, let's see where this goes.
yeah, I think that's like almost a part of the charm of the film is that you're not supposed to understand everything on the first watching. It flies by you so quickly that you have to like, oh, I gotta either see this again or I'm the wrong approach would be like, oh, I'm just too dumb. But it hits you so fast with everything, and like I rewatched it multiple times back after I first saw it, and I saw it twice tonight or one and a half. It's still on in the background. Um, but even still at this point, I'm still searching for little signs of where everything circles, where things spiral out, if there's patterns within certain elements of the film as well. And that's such a rewarding thing from this movie that I got out of it. Nick, what'd you think?
I have mixed feelings here.
You would.
I would. Whereas this film cost $60,000, so it's a really good feat in cinematography and directing and filmmaking, in my opinion. Like it's a tiny budget, and for it to do that well is no small feat. And I think that's probably why Aronofsky made such a big name for himself.
Was it really quick? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have to ask because this one's Sundance. Was this his debut?
I believe this is his first movie.
This is
So
his debut
took
film.
he took a year's worth of his 9 to 5 money and made this movie, huh?
But yeah,
Whatever he was
wow.
doing.
Wow. Okay. I apologize, Nick.
Oh no, it's okay. I mean, but that is one of the points that I think is really important to drive home, because my criticism will only be from things that probably aren't as impressive as that. So I like the story and the plot of the movie. I was put off by the student film aspect to it. And I'll say because I think that when you have a student film, you're having somebody play with a whole grab bag of techniques. And so they just do it all. And sometimes I feel like that doing it all, just for the sake of it, makes it a little bit tough to watch as an audience member. I also get a kind of a feeling of like, you have to like it. Which is fine. There are certain movies that you have to like. I think this is kind of like a modern day late 90s Citizen Kane. It's shot well, and I think maybe it's because the black and white helps. The high contrast, high grain, black and white lets you do things with cameras that you can't do with color. So I think that's probably one of the big strong points for it. But yeah, I would think that this movie would probably be divisive for some people, because you really have to like experimental film, because this is experimental film.
Oh, I would definitely agree. You gotta kind of be, I feel like, a little snobby. Like I bought it all. Like I can be a bit snobby with film, or I am a bit snobby with film. Don't fucking lie.
I think everybody can be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think you're right in the sense of like there's a big in hindsight now there's a big impetus to like this movie because it's Aronofsky. Aronofsky goes off to direct Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, The
Black Swan.
Fountain, The Black
Mhm.
Swan. I did not like The Fountain, by the way. If we ever
I
watch
didn't see
that
that.
movie, I will rail against it. But he like all these artsy sorts of films are all great, but like it's his voice that comes out. So I can see in hindsight where you feel this need to like it, but you like on here we don't have to like anything. If
No,
you hate
yeah.
it, and just
I
say
don't
you
hate
hate
it though. No, that's why I say I'm conflicted because there are certain elements of it that I like. Certain shots are gorgeous because they have that high contrast black and white and grain.
Mhm.
Now, I said to myself, self, if this movie was in color, would that shot be as good? And I don't know. And I think
Yeah,
that black and white lends itself to having those really striking visuals that you couldn't otherwise in color. So that's
yeah.
where I feel the conflict because it's like, yes, this is cool, but if I put color in it, would it be as cool? And
Right. And they
I
don't
don't
have to
really know.
compensate for lighting and things as much.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I get you.
that can so there's some shocks in this that I I didn't like, but I understood why they're in there. So like this movie fits perfectly into what's considered like a cult classic sort of film
Mm-hmm.
where the film has obvious flaws, but either your enjoyment or the technical aspects, appreciation of the technical aspects lets you push all those flaws away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they call that inattentional blindness, something like that.
Maybe we're getting into this whole
I'm going to have to
blind
look
like
that up.
Well, no,
so
it's
like
the uh, it's
no,
just a short concept. It's the concept of focusing on the moving parts rather than the like something else that's right in front of you. So like
like
you're talking, so if somebody's looking at your square, they see Nick and I, but they don't really see what we're doing.
I
Kind of like that.
got you. So it's like dating a girl and liking her for all of her perfections, and just ignoring all of those red flags that
Yep.
keep popping up day after day or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't necessarily think that the red flags are too alarming because one, I have to put in the context that this is in 1998. This is
True.
peak rules of attraction. What the hell was that other one with Ethan Hawke? Reality Bites, like
Mm.
90s angst movie. So there's definitely a vibe, and it fits right into that. So I don't think that I can look back
Reality
and be like
bites.
that is a thing in its like against it because it is just following the
The norm
cultural
of the time.
milieu. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was that was what you were supposed to do in movies. Like that was the thing to do in the 90s was to just like kind of have this like kind of fast-paced narrator that talks in really big words and is a little bit intellectually nihilistic and yeah, it was just a big thing in the 90s. So
Yeah, but in
those types of things I don't think I can actually like ding it for because it's just a product of its time.
right, but not ding it per se, but just being aware that we know that there are works that came out around the same time that have very similar setups that are in color and do well, like Fear of Loathing. So
Mhm.
it's not that it
Man,
can't be done, but I'm sure that both examples of perfection are few and far and in between, and there's a lot of sunken ships in the water outside of those.
and like I get like this late '90s vibe too, like Seven close to it. Also in color,
Mhm.
Seven was Fight Club as well. You get this
Mhm.
sort of narration thing.
Mhm.
Um, two things. One little surface, two a little bit deeper. This is what I wished Kimmy was.
Yeah,
I wish Kimmy took
I think
elephant.
this inspired Kimmy. I thought that
maybe.
literally probably 7 minutes into the movie, 10 minutes into the movie, I thought they for sure, whoever wrote Kimmy for sure wrote this. I mean, watch this. They know this movie. They've seen this movie. They've studied this movie. I
Well, not
believe it a
studied
thousand
enough
Oh no,
Yeah, I
because
no,
wish.
they studied it, but that doesn't mean that they can replicate it.
Right,
you know,
right.
especially with like
I
the
studied
internal
Jordan and Kobe,
monologue.
but I promise you, I've never been in the NBA.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I,
I thought I saw
I
you sitting.
promise. I
I'm
promise
sure I
you.
saw you on playing for the Clippers in like the mid 2000s.
Junior Clippers, maybe.
The Junior Clippers.
No, but and then the second thing with this film, what I love about the black and white and the high contrast, because some of the shots bother me a little bit in the sense of lighting, where it's a little bit overblown.
Mhm.
But you're dealing with the themes of knowledge and ignorance and wisdom. And knowledge has always been the white light within film. It's always been the sun. It's always like the symbol. Maybe it harkens back to older art history with paintings and things like that. I'm not too sure. But within this sense, whenever you see just a flat, a complete white frame or a flash of light or the sun, that implies knowledge coming in through the shadows of ignorance, and how when you get more knowledge, you can become blind, which is why he begins this whole narrative with telling the time and a personal note. When I was a kid, my mom told me not to look into the sun.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 6, I did, and I stared at it and went blind. That is a metaphor for the knowledge that he gains about pi, or about this numerical system that he's breaking down to understand probably the theory of all of life and everything.
With you saying that, I thought that was a metaphor or a kind of just a story leading into how other people's limitations aren't your limitations. Like,
Mm,
yeah, he was
that's
told
also
not to
true.
stare at the sun. Right. But he was told not to stare at the sun. He went temporarily blind, which can also cause, I think, a level of brain damage. But I'm
Yeah,
not sure
it
about that.
does. That's the headaches that happen to him.
Right. Okay. So that's where that does make sense then. It's funny because I kept thinking, I was like, does he have some? It was
No.
98. I could
And
think
then
it. Does he have brain damage?
and then it gets he's on the spectrum. You can nowadays you could say he's on the spectrum. You can tell by when he speaks to other characters, he kind of breaks eye contact.
But
It's
most people
really
of a higher
uncomfortable.
intellect are on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like,
Most people in mathematics, science, STEM, all that stuff tend to be on the spectrum.
yeah,
Um,
I only know that because apparently that's a part of one of the intro speeches for accounting and economics. Don't ask.
Okay.
welcome to the group of 3 people on the spectrum talking about moon. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no, they're literally talking to a room of like 80 people, explaining to you that, well, if you understand these things, then chances are,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, without a doubt
They were
that
right.
his level of obsession, his level of ignoring the outside world, social anxiety, that would place nowadays we say place him on the spectrum. But no, you are right where he finds limitations, or that other people would find his limitations, just kind of
Mhm.
sees them as obstacles. Because even when he first visits um, his mentor tells him, "You're my most like roguish student.
Mhm.
You're the one student that like broke the rules, just did whatever the hell you wanted, and now you're traveling down this road that's going to drive you insane."
Right, and you think this movie came out in '98? Everyone who had any story of success back then, that was their story. I went against the grain and it worked. They
Yeah.
told me that they told me I'd never, and here I am today. You
But
know
success for this character isn't necessarily good. I mean,
exactly.
so I guess I'll just put up the spoiler warnings now, and we'll talk
Man, if they
about
haven't seen
the
this
last
movie
scene.
in 24 years, shame on them.
Yeah. So the main character ends up putting a drill through his head to make him forget what he knows. And
I
so
assume that's a metaphor, right? Because I don't think he really drilled his head, did he?
I think
so
yes
I
and
got
no.
I got 2 different answers. Within the
Yeah.
movie, maybe. Outside of the movie, on the commentary track, Aronofsky talks about the scene in a little bit of detail, and he goes, "Well, our actor, he was like a small town actor at the time. I haven't seen him much outside of this,
Mhm.
even though he holds a similar cadence to Edward Norton in Fight Club, and he holds a similar acting mannerisms. Um,
Maybe that's Edward Norton's real name.
he was a method actor, and Aronofsky says that they had paramedics and ambulance and all of that on scene, and then that's all he would reveal about that particular scene. It would be probably much easier to fake it, but the way that last scene looks makes me question.
Yeah,
and it's just from the way like
You do for
so
your
like
art.
I'm trying to think about like trying to get all Dexter all of a sudden. The blood splatter that happens on the mirror, and it comes from the right of frame. But I've never put a drill bit into myself. So I don't know if the blood would travel down the drill bit and then splatter or splatter right from the place.
I've used a drill bit and caused liquid to flow down of it, to flow down it. I'd assume because of the grooves, yeah, it would travel down it just a little, but not much. And then
Like,
the inertia, because it would already be spinning, would
yeah. The
probably
splatter on the mirror wasn't real.
It wasn't.
But
No, it
but it
wasn't
very
real.
well
But I'm
could have
saying,
been him actually drilling into his skin. And they
Mhm.
probably just had him drill just into the skin without hitting the cranium or without drilling into the skull, which
I
is
would like to
just a
that he
dumb
drilled.
movie to do. No,
I'm just thinking
no.
about his question about the blood from a physics stance. Like, would that be possible? Like, I
Could you
think so.
imagine he actually drilled into his skull and never had an acting gig ever again? My poor
No.
guy.
Hey, I've never seen him in anything else. I'm just saying.
Neither have I.
I mean,
A real
I could
method
imagine.
actor.
Yes, I
He's
can imagine
killed
him not
himself.
getting a job because if you drill into your head, people are going to question how far are you willing to go.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, maybe he
and
went
now
all the
you're a
way.
hazard.
He's just not an actor anymore. He's not anything anymore.
Hey, I'm sure they have bigger
Dead.
insurance liabilities within Hollywood than some guy
I don't know
willing to
about
drill.
1998.
Yeah.
Well, if Alec Baldwin is attached to it, he might.
Oh man, I was thinking the same thing, but I wasn't going to say it out loud.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay,
Alex.
so you know what? Maybe you can answer this, Mike, because you do have a background in mathematics. What about pi is bringing him answers to the stock market? Is it just like this chaos theory thing of like or order in large chaotic, sums of numbers?
Okay. So this is where the movie starts to work on a little bit of suspension of disbelief, but I understand
Oh, okay.
at least where they're coming from. So the notion is that in chaotic systems, you have patterns to everything, right? Like and in the most natural chaotic systems, this tends to come down to this number pi or this ratio really that happens in like it was originally the Fibonacci sequence or the Fibonacci numbers were originally found in the breeding pattern of bunnies, and then it ends up coming to like the growth of plants, the growth of flowers, the like
Nature
all those
itself.
nature itself. Yeah, you can find it everywhere. And if these are all natural systems, then so is our stock market because you have humans running the system. At least in 98. You have a little bit of computers flowing in there, but you don't have things like flash depressions that you have now, where like the stock market tanks for 10 minutes and nobody knows why, but it comes right back up.
It
'Cause
surges
it's a bunch of
600%.
yeah, it's a bunch of like computers trading. You don't have that at this time. Um, so if it's dependent on a natural system, then you can trace it back to a natural number. Or I'm not saying a natural number in the technical mathematical sense, but a natural number in meaning that a number that represents nature itself. That number starts with pi. You can start to play with this with lottery numbers that seem really random, chaotic, but there's a series of prime numbers that fit within lottery numbers. Or if you do a bit of as far as I've studied in, this was like an interest of mine for a few months because it was an interest of a girls that I was seeing for a few months. But she had this notion that if you did the proper group theory around these prime numbers, then you can start to more reliably predict lottery numbers, and it would no longer become a fool's gamble. You would at least tip the favor in your way to win the lottery maybe more than once.
Mm.
And so
Okay.
that's his thing of like the number pi is a root number in all these natural systems. The stock market is a natural system because it's ran by people, and therefore pi might be the base of this natural system. There's also something interesting with pi where it goes on for infinity um, without repetition. Most numbers you can eventually get to a point where it repeats itself. But with pi, it never repeats itself and therefore can never be zeroed in on, which also kind of fits into this theme of these people trying to find this one clue to figure everything out, but never really zeroing in on it, except for our main character, which drives him insane, which is a theme that goes as far back as Adam and Eve, right? Like the biting from the fruit of knowledge, being cast out of paradise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has God's name in his head, so God is killing him.
No.
And if you know anything about any type of God lore, we cannot speak and or know the true name of the Almighty, or else it will break our brain.
No. And you see that with his mentor, when his mentor figures out or starts to work on the problem again for his student.
Tio Salamanca.
Is that his real name?
No, it's from Breaking Bad.
Oh, no. No, I was like, I thought I looked up his real name.
His name
and
is
did
Mark
not...
Margolis. He's in a shit ton of stuff.
A lot of stuff,
Yeah. But he dies, and his mentor's name is Soul, which is kind of funny because he's the son of sorts for this main character. And they even bring up the story of Icarus when they when you first meet these two characters, and he goes on about it, him being his roguish student, being like Icarus, he's gonna fly too close to the sun and get burned.
Wow. So it's
This is
like a
what
passing down of the knowledge, passing of the torch.
passing down of forbidden knowledge.
Yeah, he gave him his element of knowledge.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
and it plays into something that actually plagues a lot of intelligent people is the curse of knowledge, the curse of knowing. I mean, most easy the way that it gets spelled out is like with Thanos and Iron Man and Marvel and Endgame, or is it Endgame or was it Infinity War? I don't know. But he goes,
I've erased all DC Marvel stuff out of my head. I had to clean the hard drive out.
That's fair. And he goes, like Thanos shares his respect for Iron Man and just tells him, like you, I'm cursed with knowledge, or I'm cursed with knowing shit
that I should, or that no one else can.
Yeah, or shouldn't, or no one can, or that no one will understand, which falls into another mythical thing of Cassandra, where Cassandra's this woman who scorns Apollo. So she's presented with the gift of foresight, be able to tell the future. But the curse that comes with it is that no one believes her. So if you have this knowledge where nobody believes you about it, do you really have the knowledge?
Right.
Beware Trojans bearing gifts.
Yeah.
Nobody listened. Man.
Nobody ever listens.
Beware gifts wearing Trojans.
Hey, well, very true. Beware of that too.
But this movie obviously can get very deep, as we've talked about the themes and not even broken down like the story beats or anything like that. And that's what's so great is that it just keeps
moving.
Like it keeps moving, but there's so much there that you want to stop and take a look at it. So we're introduced to our main character, and he's a loner in his 30s, I think. I don't think his age is ever described.
No.
But
he got his PhD at 20, so
yeah, and graduated college at 16. So a prodigy of sorts. But he's in his little tiny apartment in New York in Chinatown, surrounded by a computer that he made himself, that he's called Euclid. Euclid. If you hate geometry, then you hate Euclid. Euclid is the guy that founded geometry and was sort of like, you need to prove everything in order to continue on with your mathematics. And he has this book called Euclid Elements, which is great if you like math. It's also kind of torturesome because you can get into this obsessive hole about parallel lines. It's like a story for a different time. But this computer Euclid becomes a metaphor for his mind, or becomes, I guess, the representation of his mind within the movie, the physical representation of his mind. And he's trying to prove the stock market to pretty much find out the, I guess, the core number, the core pattern to all natural systems. Mm-hmm. And he believes that it lies in pi. And it sort of just follows him as he fails to do this multiple times. And he runs to a computer bug, an actual computer bug. And that's actually a great callback to the world's first computer bug. So we call them bugs because one day a computer crashed. And when they looked inside the computer, there's actually a dead ant in the computer itself. And ever since that, they called them computer bugs. Yeah. And what he finds is an ant on his main, you call it a mother chip, like what it would be now would be your CPU. So you have a motherboard and you have a central processing unit that sits in the middle of it that runs all the math.
So it was ant jizz?
Yeah. All that stuff was ant jizz.
Yeah. Dirty bastards.
He tasted it.
He did.
So my theory about that was that is the financial company coming in and sabotaging him so that they can get him to work for them. Sort of like presenting the problem and the solution, because they come back later and give him that chip to solve everything.
Right. Quickly. And like they knew he needed it too.
But on the other hand,
jizzed on it.
On the other hand, though, later on the movie, when he's hearing his neighbor have sex, which has to be the funniest, my favorite
the
line.
Second time, though, right?
Yeah, the second time where she's like, "What did she say? Mama's nipple is hard or something like that."
Mama's nipple is hard. You wanna suck that? Whoa,
yeah.
Whoa.
The writing in this movie is a little dodgy.
Man, it's great. Hey, it won an award, all right?
Yeah, for directing.
And writing. It won a screenplay
really?
award.
Really?
I can name a few other things that won some awards that
all I remember is, what do you need iodine for? Oh, the process of science. Like maybe it's the acting. Maybe it's the acting that was stiff. I don't know.
Well, I think he only got like one actor, and the rest were just people off the street.
Just people off the street. That makes more sense.
Like the little girl, she's cute, but you can tell she's not a child actress.
Neither is a neighbor.
Hey, I'm shooting a movie. Put your kid in it. Hey, you want to be in this movie? What's it pay? It pays you get to be in a movie.
Hey, you get coffee. You get some craft. There's some like sandwiches over there.
Better hope you got some crafts. In 98, crafts came from 99 cent stores. And you went on your own. Bring it back with your snacks.
Some of the acting in his gig's a little shaky. But he finds this bug, this thing blows up. He's being harassed constantly by this predictive financial technology company, where you see some of their which I only caught watching it now, but you see some of their advertisements in the newspaper where we're 86% accurate.
Oh yeah.
And we put our money in us, but it's all kind of like just shown to the audience, not explained, which is great. And so he's kind of harassed by these people. He's trying to figure this thing out. You have Lenny that comes in, that's part of the Jewish mysticism sect, and they know who he is already. Like, I think the whole diner scene where they first meet is set up.
Yeah, they've been watching him just like the firm.
Yeah, and they meet, and they're trying to get him to try to find the pattern within the Torah for some reason. We find out later it's because they believe that if they find the pattern, then they can find the number that is the name of God, which is the key to show God that we're pure again,
Mm-hmm.
and bring in the Messiah.
Mm-hmm. You are not pure.
That was a rough scene
Yeah, man.
where he gets like pulled in the car by who you think is a group that's saving him because the Wall Street folks are about to kill him.
Right.
Like they have a gun pointed to his head, telling him to like give us the number. And they pull him in the car, and then they just end up like beating him up until he passes out,
Mm-hmm.
or he has a headache and passes
Or I
out.
might say, I think he has more of a panic attack and passes out.
Yeah. And then he wakes up and then is told that he's impure but has the message of God.
How am I impure? You're impure. What is
Yeah.
pure?
I kind of like that by
Who's
him.
the guy with the bloody hand?
It's a good question.
Oh, okay. We don't know.
Next, I think that becomes like a more of a metaphor for the paranoia in his brain. Because when he follows, so like when he only sees him when he has a headache, and whenever he has a headache, we are took into like this surreal um, part of his brain that may or may not exist.
Right.
But when he follows the blood, he walks up to this brain that's sitting there, which is, I think, supposed to be his own brain, and the torture
Poking
that
at
he
it.
puts his brain through to either solve this problem or that he did when looking at the sun.
Right.
Fair. So
And
let's get together, boy.
there's a whole bunch of this movie to break down because yeah, it gets experimental. It jumps from real to the surreal to like, am I really there? Because like at the end when he drills it in his head, it's also set up in the same way that he's going through a headache or he's going through
Right.
hallucinogenic state.
Psychosis
Where
episode.
yes, where at the end though he's able to get past it and um, like when he's talking, so he talks to this girl all the time and solves math problems for her. Like really, uh, like what's 4,332 times 800 or 847, and he's able to do it
And
just
she's
off
using
the
a
top.
calculator.
Yeah, she's using a calculator. But at the end, he gets this piece after drilling a hole through his head that he doesn't know and he doesn't care anymore. So she asks him some question like that, and he goes, "I don't know, what is it?" And she's all excited to answer, and he has this smile on his face. So if it's a metaphor, then it means that he's gained the wisdom to understand that that doesn't really matter. Like give the like
He's let go of the obsession.
yes.
Peace is simplicity.
Yeah. And even if he does know, it doesn't matter. Let the kid answer because
Right.
that's what the kid wants to do. Kid's trying to
Right.
outsmart him, sort of thing. But if he actually did it, then he's actually gained that peace through, I guess, physical means
Yeah.
and lives somewhere. I don't know where the hell he lives because he gets evicted at the end.
Oh yeah, he is
Must
getting
still live
evicted.
close because he's hanging out with the same
I
little
think
girl.
I think he
Who
just
Who
moves in
apparently
with
doesn't
Debbie.
have parents because we never see her parents.
I think Debbie just moves in.
Debbie.
Oh,
Debbie has a man. Okay, come on.
No. She has a Farouk.
Oh,
yeah.
geez. All right.
Farouk is
He's like a Lord
mean.
Farquaad.
Mhm.
That name
Farquaad.
in I think it's Urdu. I have a friend named Farouk, so he actually might get pissed if I don't know this. But it means like happiness and like peace,
Mm. Mm.
which is of course sort of the thing always standing in our main character's way because he has a crush on that neighbor. He has a
Oh
crush
yeah.
on him for sure. But
It means distinguisher or judge if it's in Arabic. I don't know if Urdu. It might be different.
okay, interesting.
Mhm.
So it's a good little juxtaposition too. Um, but no, yeah. So he has that crush on that neighbor. He tends to go a little crazy whenever he hears her have sex. Or like that tends to be like a breaking point. Um, he gets Jesus. My brain is like scattered now, but like yeah. So I guess to finish the first idea, he gets that piece by not answering those questions from the girl whose parents are never there. Um, Yeah, there's something missing in between that and the neighbor, isn't there?
Mm. Yeah, he doesn't necessarily make peace with the neighbor.
Right.
No,
But
oh no, he
before
got
that, is
evicted.
he?
Okay, no, I'm sorry. So
Yeah, he just found the number basically.
so yeah, he found that. But when he gets evicted, what I was thinking of was that's probably my favorite landlord moment ever, where like he's laying there with a bloody nose, and he finally wakes up, and she goes, "Who told you you could put all these locks on this door?" Not even caring that one of her tenants might be dead.
Right.
Just
Mm-hmm.
look at this place. There's a fucking supercomputer in here.
Right. Like, do you not see the brain you're standing in the middle of, lady? Get out of here.
He's like, "Get out." She's like, "No, you're out." Um, yeah, there's a little bit of levity in this. Like most of this movie can be construed as a little scary. I can see some people not liking this because it's just a little terrifying here and there.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean,
I
he
mean,
beats up a brain in a sink.
well, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. Maybe spooky. That's wrong. Scout. Can we,
I
can we
would
use more
say
spooky?
I would say edgy. I would say edgy over spooky. I don't think it's necessarily spooky,
A little bit of a
but
thrill.
I think it's things. I think it's storytelling elements that are unconventional, and I think that they're kind of purposely unconventional. Like a lot of shaky cam too.
Yeah.
A little bit of a GoPro action. Guy had it strapped to his chest with the camera facing him. Which is fine, but throughout the entire movie, if you're using those techniques, then it makes it really. I know it's supposed to be, so I'm not necessarily saying that they misstepped here, but I think it makes it a little bit jarring for the audience to keep track with, which is probably the mechanism in which to display the insanity. But then again, it's like, all right, well, if I understand the insanity, you don't need to keep shaking the camera. Yeah, I'd like to see what's going on. But
And I think what makes it harder too is that it's in that high contrast black and white.
yeah, like the running away scene might as well have just been a black screen. A lot of that when he's running away from the corporation, which the corporation was just some lady
Over the top.
some
Hey, there's
over
a
the
few
top
other
lady.
Look,
I don't give a shit about you.
look like Leslie Jones before she got her big break.
Yeah, I did.
Hey, she smacked the shit
She
out of that
did.
dude.
Man,
Yeah.
I don't think that was scripted. I
She
think
went
that
from
was
zero.
some
She went from 0 to 100 real fast. Like, hey, calling him every day. Hey, I would love to see you. Let's meet up for lunch. And all of a sudden, all
we
right,
had a deal.
where's my number? And slaps the shit out of him.
You're gonna give me what's mine. Whoa.
Yeah.
Pulling a gun out on him.
Shouldn't have taken that chip, man. Should have just
Man.
gotten a
Hey,
regular chip.
Should have got Doritos.
Yeah.
that might be like that's a hard like if somebody came up to me and was like, here, we'll give you all of the infrastructure you need to solve the problems you want to solve. It's a hard temptation to like
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
he knew
what they
very
want to
well he
return.
wasn't going to give them anything anyways.
Mhm.
Not like he was under no illusions that he was going to help those people. He just wanted the chip.
And I don't think
That
he was ready
his
to
thing.
die.
I don't know, like maybe his ego of like just solving the problem. Like I don't think he knew what he was actually solving at that point because he
No.
was, or at least he didn't, or maybe he didn't care that they would get rich off of solving that. Like he just cared about the problem so much that he was like, yeah, I'll just give you the thing. But with corporations and business comes deadlines.
Well, and then
And if
at
you,
the end, when he's confronting them, he's like, you guys shouldn't be able to have this. Do you know what you're doing? I'm like,
and that's
okay,
true
well,
too.
but you found it for them.
Right.
Yeah,
And still
that's
gave
what
it
they
up.
hired you for.
But then that's also too like after he finds out that that might be the key to finding God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're the key to understand. Like there's a bit of ignorance in there too, which is actually kind of a beautiful message about intelligence itself, right? Like it's so bright and it's so blinding that it makes you blind. It makes you dumb, where you may not know actually what you have. but somebody else, like this lady in this corporation, who only wants it for negative use or like devilish uses, because like you could almost see that financial corporation as the devil, and then the Jewish mysticism sect as God, or as representations of both, and then how they
Hasidic mafia, maybe, but
I mean,
That's for sure who they were.
yeah.
God can be real rigorous, right? Do we need to elaborate about the story of Jesus? Should we dive into those themes and parallels?
Who?
Who is that guy? But like, yeah, like,
Jesus guy. Never heard
you
of
know,
him.
like, who is this Jesus? Guy hasn't came by to fix my sink yet. I don't know. But that I did enjoy that juxtaposition of symbols, where like this Wall Street firm just only cares about the money. You know?
Yeah. Well, and then the Hasids only care about bringing the apocalypse.
Clearly,
Yeah.
it's the apocalypse.
That's what the return of the Messiah is.
They're trying to
I
make
would
it
tell
seem
you.
like it's something else, but it's like, you mean the end of days?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the rapture of all non-Jews upon the earth.
So, right. So what you're saying is you're an apocalyptic Jewish sect. Ah.
Yeah, and like that's like the misnomer of purity, right? Like they were always implying that they were the pure ones, and this guy was not pure, even though if you take it from their angle, God gave the message to him.
And he's Jewish.
And he's Jewish.
And he's a Cohen.
He's just not Jewish enough.
Cohen.
Which spirals out into a whole bunch of other things, right?
I do like the connections to Kabbalah and Hebrew, though, because I really find that kind of idea fascinating. And I did like what Saul said to him about sticking with the scientific rigor, or else it becomes numerology, because that is absolutely true. That's what happened. That's what happened to him. He got that number 23 going on, where it's just like, all of this stuff starts to, like point towards one thing that you're just so focused on.
The obsession, because it's a story about obsession at the end of the day. And like, even I found it fascinating, he goes through the same parallels that a computer goes through, according to Saul, going through this whole process of becoming self-aware while studying pi, while studying the numbers, becoming self-aware of what the number means itself, and then spitting something out and then melting down. He goes through the same thing Euclid goes through.
Yeah.
I need to name my computer whenever I build
it. you haven't named your computer? What are you doing? You just over there using unnamed merchandise?
I'm a risky folk. You don't know my life.
Look, take your computer and be like, oh, which computer is that? Oh, that's user ID 7729.
Yeah, no. But like breaking down the beaks wise, his computer melts down, he loses the chip. And then he has a like little bitty meltdown himself, and he's trying to figure out like where this bug is coming from and like why his computer crashed. Reaches out to the tech firm, or they reach out to him, I guess. They keep harassing him, and they present him that chip, some like classified chip that can help all of his computations. Well, at the same time, the Hasidic set is trying to get him to do work for them, pretty much, because they don't have any number theorists there. Nobody can do this, or nobody can solve this problem.
Right.
So then all these kind of things collide, and he finds out that this one number ends up solving two problems. One that can predict on the nose what the stock market will be like, and the other one that can find this pattern within the Torah, which milks down his whole apartment and milks down his whole psyche. Once he learns what the message is, after both of these groups try to like pretty much kidnap him, this poor guy just wants to like live his life and solve one problem, and these people follow him, surveil him, kidnap him, beat him up, all of these things. But once that happens, he kind of doesn't. Yeah, he starts to step off the edge and finds the scar in his head from his surgery as a child, and then that becomes a big X marks the spot for where he might conduct some sort of lobotomy on himself, some sort of surgery on himself to try to make his headaches go away. Because this is another.
Trepanning. It's not a lobotomy. He's
It's
trepanning
the
himself.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, lobotomy would be dealing with the frontal lobe. He's going like side of the head. Like,
Oh,
yeah, that's letting the demons out.
Yeah.
well,
Open
hold
up
on.
the
I need
garage
to
door,
find
huh?
my drill real quick.
Yeah.
Um, so he marks a spot for the trepanning, and he has a library in this little tiny Chinatown shithole apartment, which is also very cool. Just because that's also really reflective of intelligence. Where like you find that the more intelligent people are, the less they give a shit about image, and that becomes very apparent from the beginning, and then becomes more and more a thing as the film goes on. But he shaves his head, kind of loses his mind. He goes to meet his mentor again for the last time, and his mentor, who's kind of been helping him a bit, figure out these bugs in pie because previously his mentor studied it but suffered from a stroke. He finds out his mentor has died, and there's this beautiful little imagery between what he and his mentor used to do, which is just play a game of Go because it's so complex, but complex in the beginning, but becomes very predictable as time goes on. You can almost see this as chess, but chess is more limited because it's only a 64 square board. Um, finds out he dies, but also finds out that he had his second stroke from studying the problem again, studying the problem of pi and trying to find a pattern in the numbers. Um, so now at this point, our main character knows the pattern in pi, knows what this one number is that can solve multiple problems, and probably, if he gave it enough time, could figure out what it actually means. Because we only know it as a number, right? We don't know how the Hasidic set would interpret it. We don't know exactly how the Wall Street set would take it, but we know it's the root of Euclid being able to predict stock prices and find a pattern within the Torah. He takes this number that he wrote down, it's 216 digits long, and burns it. And then he takes a drill to his head and puts it through his skull and is happy again because he's released the demons and released all this knowledge that he had before. Now you at least physically can. Maybe it's a metaphor, maybe it's not.
Or within that pattern of pi, he realized that there was the many worlds theory, and he committed quantum suicide.
Could have.
Just killed off that part, that instance of himself that was plagued by it. And then the next scene, you see him as a different instance of himself.
So you think he discovered the multiverse, Nick?
Maybe. I mean, it could be anything in those 216,
Letters.
numbers.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, if the multiverse is just another natural system, wouldn't it come back down to pi?
I mean, it would have
so,
to,
yeah.
unless it doesn't.
Theoretically,
unless there are millions of instances in which it doesn't. I don't know.
Unless there's
what kind of infinities are we talking about?
Right. Unless there might be an interstellar pi that we're not aware of.
Hey, yeah, sure. There's if universes are like snowflakes can still be seen through a fractal.
Mm-hmm.
And pi is sort of the beginning of
snowflakes always have six points, so there's at least a pattern in that.
And there's always a pattern in everything, man. Math is everywhere.
Yep.
But no, those are sort of like just the quick beaks of the story, and the story is really well written. I mean, I enjoy it. Maybe the exact dialogue and acting isn't that great, but as you said, it was filmed on $60,000, really low budget, and 98 maybe. I don't know what inflation would be like now for a $60,000 budget. Maybe
600.
I was gonna say like $600 million. Look, you see this beer? This cost me 2 days worth of labor. All right. But no, yeah, those are the beats. The cinematography of it is amazing. It's one of my favorite parts because you get to see a young director really start to define his visual voice. And that becomes very clear in Requiem for a Dream, his next movie, where it hits you so hard that that movie I would have to pause multiple times because I felt so bad for the characters that I had to leave the room. I had to like go step out and like go cry somewhere before I could come back and start watching the movie again. um, but this is where it all starts, and you start to see it. It reminds me a lot of if you see Star Wars, like the old 77 ones, or 70, and Empire comes out in like 84, 82. I don't know. But the original trilogy, and you go see THX 1138, which is Lucas's student film or like first film. You get to see the visual style start to come out. And then, secondly, you have his friend who did the music. I think his name is Clint something. Where's my phone? But this is like his buddy who was always known for electronic music, and the electronic score is very much like your late '90s hard techno driving. If you've seen Fight Club and then you see this, you'll pick it up. Even it works into like,
IDM.
yeah, this even works into like Max's sort of theme. It's like a leitmotif of electronica, which works great. Whenever he's like solving this problem or is like on a science high, this music starts to kick in, and you know that that music means him. So it works really well. But again, in Requiem for a Dream, ends up being this guy's first orchestral score, where he does Summer's Overture, which becomes a song that I'm sure whoever's listening and both of you here will know if you heard it again. It's just like a song that goes oh Jesus, I don't want to butcher it. It's
Things to make you go.
bum, bum, bum. No, it's like something different.
Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, we just got copyright struck
Oh,
by NBC. Shit, sorry guys.
hilarious.
And I gotta pause it.
Yep. That's as much as we can get on this one. I'll have to look it up.
I don't know. I almost started singing a R&B song that I
I'm sure the whole thing you would know of it.
Mhm.
But what I find interesting is like it's this combination of these two people who are just friends who end up making amazing, great art through this. It's like that perfect syncopation. I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe just luck or serendipity through
It's called
art.
synergy, bro.
Oh, my bad.
It's the
Yeah,
corporate
Clint
speak.
Mansell. Sorry, my eyes are bad. Clint Mansell did the music, and he later does the music for all of Aronofsky's films, and is a great composer. Uh, but it's the music is great, and the cinematography is great. The lighting, if you take it as a metaphor for the light of knowledge versus the darkness of ignorance and ego, it works great as well. And everything just works in this film. It just does.
Sorry, I have somebody like I have a raccoon rummaging in my kitchen right now. I was like, "What the hell's going on?"
That's awful to say. She a real
Yeah.
battle axe.
No, no. It
Never
sounded
heard
like
that since that
my
game.
dog got into the garbage, and then I realized no, they're
It's
getting
not
snacks right now.
It's imposable thumbs.
It's a snack attack.
Opposable thumbs.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else can I talk about? How else can Kim? Oh, sort of like what this inspires. So have either of you seen Mr. Robot?
No.
No.
I think like one or two episodes, but yeah.
So Mr. Robot also takes place in New York, and he lives in Chinatown. The main character lives in Chinatown, that show. But there's a lot of just camera angles, the internal monologue, all that stuff. Just sort of, you can feel some sort of inspiration that comes from this. Even some of the characters that may or may not actually exist that pop up in this movie, and also have a parallel in Mr. Robot. And it's sort of cool to see that, where the sort of indie cult classic inspires things years or decades down the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's definitely. It seems to me like it's thematically, like you said, a cult movie. So I could see where people are influenced with various aspects, like down the line, in paying homage to that.
Yeah.
Again, 1998, Citizen Kane.
Great movie.
Yeah,
that's all I got from top to bottom. I mean, the editing is great as well. I mean, some of like without the editing, you don't have the building of the visual style, right? There's a lot of close-ups on just things that actually matter to the character. So, for example, in Kimmy, when she's taking her medication, her medication's kind of held on the table in like a mid shot. The way that I'm kind of in just like a mid. I'm not really close up to the frame. I'm not really far away. I'm just kind of in the middle, mid shot. But the medication that Max takes, it's always close up, and you always see it for just maybe a second or two. It's more of an action thing, which builds it. It makes you feel like it's a part of his character in a non like it builds that repetition. It's part of his character, and it doesn't make it feel like it's like you're just like, why am I watching this? It's always quickly moving. It becomes a quality of that character. I don't know how else. I keep like circling this idea, but I don't know quite well to pinpoint it.
Yeah, it's frenetic. I think a lot of Aronofsky movies are like that. There's a frenetic energy about them. I would say I longed for one wide shot. just give me one wide shot, man. I just want to breathe. I just want to take in the scenery at once.
You just want to see more than one room at one time in an apartment,
or just less, more than just a mid shot and then tight close up. So I was like, I just want to see one.
But that's him though.
Breath. Give me the breath.
Even his mentor tells him you have to take a breath. You have to breathe somewhere here, Matt. Well, you kind of get a wide when he's like walking up to the camp, when he's like following the trail of blood.
Yeah, that is true. And when he's on the stairs, it's a little bit wider than the normal aspect ratio that they use. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think
2 whole scenes.
That's all you get. 2 breaths.
That's it. That's all you get
for an hour and a half.
And they just happen to actually be one scene. Actually, when I just thought about that,
I think so. Yeah.
But no, I think I've addressed everything from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't address why he wore the certain shoes he was wearing. No, I'm joking.
Well, if you study the pattern of the stitching on the shoes, what you find is that it's a spine.
What's funny is I'm almost sure there's a reason for his attire.
I need to make friends with a Hasid so they can explain the black box on the forehead thing. I want to know what that's all about.
Like I didn't
the black cube thing on there.
That was the rectangle. Who did he say came up with the rectangle that explained?
Are you
not the Fibonacci.
You're not talking about
the golden ratio.
After that. Yeah, the golden ratio.
Yeah, you're not talking about Pythagoras, no.
No, it was the Hasidic practice of they wrap themselves with leather, and then there's this like black cube that they have on their forehead, and they do their prayers. I've always wanted to ask like what the significance of that is.
Or do you want to get disappeared by the
maybe the mafia will come after me.
Like, so you want to know? Oh, we could tell you. We can tell you.
We can tell you, but you got to convert.
You got to convert.
And the price of admission is full belief. So if you're ever half-assed in your belief,
I don't think I can do it. Like drug money.
Yep.
You know, I love this film so much. I mean, even after we're done with this, I'll probably watch the rest of it for a second viewing. And there's so much. I know I've missed parts that I really enjoyed, like even just his whole internal monologue, this sort of very systematic, time-based approach of making mental notes becomes a pattern within itself, and gives you so much more to like what the character actually is. Which again, going back to Kimmy, which are Kimmy and this main character are very similar character. Her name wasn't Kimmy, the main character from Kimmy.
Yeah, we could
That's like
call
a
her
weird,
Kimmy.
it's a weird Frankenstein's monster thing, isn't it?
Mm.
But main character from that movie, main character of this movie, very similar because he's borderline agoraphobic, but not really. You might be able to construe that from all the shitty and shaky camera angles.
Mm.
Maybe,
Maybe.
but similar characters. But that's what that internal monologue builds so much. And if that monologue was just for a few scenes inside of Kimmy, it would add so much more to it.
Yeah.
Self-talk
That
is
movie needed
important.
a lot more.
Yeah,
that
that movie
movie
needed.
a lot more. Need a lot more.
But I agree. Self-talk is important. It would have been nice to hear her have some internal dialogue about just some of the realities she was going through.
Mm.
Yeah. But no, I think so. All I got. You all want to go to final comments,
All
or
right,
I know it was monologuing for a
I got
while.
half a
So
page of bullet points. You covered them all. No, I'm joking.
well, let's run through your half page of bullet points.
No, I literally anything that I thought of. I think the only two thing. No, I think it's only one thing. I want to say you talked about that. Um, I was curious about the mentor and the whether or not he died from a stroke and or he just it was that time. Like, was it the number? But I kind of got to the same place you did when you came back and reminded us that when he started going through his stuff, everything seemed like he had revisited the number as well.
No.
So that's an easy one. Excuse me.
Yeah, no. It was
But I,
the
mhm,
number caused his first stroke, and then I think it's supposed to be implied that the number caused his second stroke, and then finally killed him.
right. My other question for us was is it is it me or does it seem as if his level of intellect played into his OCD, agoraphobia, whatever it is that would be diagnosed as?
Mm-hmm.
And as he was no longer of a higher level of intellect. See, I'm not up there either. But as he was not up there in a higher level of intellect, all of a sudden he was less anxious about things. Anxiety wasn't much of an issue. It didn't seem. Am I the
Yes,
only one getting that?
I think that's a big message of this movie. Is there's a saying that goes, genius and insanity go hand in hand. So it's a very fine line. So as the higher intellect you get, the more you are susceptible to mental illness,
Aneurysms and shit. Nah, yeah, I get
aneurysm
it.
ones, things like that.
Mhm.
Um, but
Do
yeah,
you even
yeah,
think
it's
the
a strong
story
message.
that his mentor told was about I can't remember which philosopher that was, but the one I think that was Pythagoras, right?
Archimedes.
Archimedes.
It is
And discovering the theory, or not the theory, but the weight and value ratio. Uh, not by working on it, but by taking a break as his wife instructed and finding it within the break. So yeah, I think that's what that kind of caters to. You got to
yeah,
give the
no,
brain a break in order to reset.
yeah,
Like
just
you got to
the
shut a computer down once in a while, and then it turns back on and it works better.
yeah, just the balance too, right? That the wife brings to Archimedes. Like
Mhm.
she's the one that pushes Archimedes to take a bath where he's able to figure out what he needs to figure out. And without that balance, you as a or the main character as an intellectual gets lost and obsessed with that problem. That's
Mhm.
why I think ultimately this is a story about obsession and the damage it can do, and um, being smart. And once look, being smart ain't all what it's cracked up to be, because sometimes you can't find that balance to live a healthy life. You might be able to
Right.
solve your problem, might be able to solve all your problems, but you can't find a balance to keep you alive.
Right. Yeah, great. But yeah, so that was the last two things that I want to say. You kind of talked about everything else. I had a little more interest in Devi, but hindsight, my interest was she was the only female in the entire movie. So
No, there was those weird ladies in the street that kept looking. There's the landlady,
The
there,
corporate lady.
the corporate lady, But that neighbor was the closest thing that he had to a like a girlfriend, like a real relationship with any sort of.
anybody he knew outside of himself.
Yeah, well, he had the mentor, but anything that was of a romantic interest that could kind of break him out of this loop. Because even
Right.
the mentor talks about this loop that the computer goes into once it figures out the thing. Once the computer
Yeah.
becomes obsessed itself, it melts down. Just like once the human mind becomes obsessed, it melts down.
Or has a second of sentience and realizes it's not its body.
Yeah, just destroys itself. But no, like that character, that neighbor that Debbie becomes is really important. And I wish you've seen Mr. Robot because there's a character named Shay who is very similar to Elliot. It's like the best thing for him. She's literally like Debbie's the best thing for Max that he could bring into his life, but he can't due to his own obsession.
Yeah. And she's a no,
Shay might be. You haven't seen the show yet.
Fair. All right. But yeah, no, that's all for me. I have nothing else to add.
All right. Are you guys ready for the final verdicts?
Dun, dun, dun. Drum roll, please.
No, I mean you guys covered most of it.
Yeah, I really think we covered everything.
Yeah, I'm trying to search if there was anything that popped out in my head that we haven't touched on.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Nick, did you find Max likable?
More than Kimmy, sure.
Yeah. More than Angela. Kimmy was likable. Angela.
That's right. Angela. Yeah. Sorry.
Called bad average.
I don't think that. I think it was more convincing. He was a more convincing portrayal of obsession for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the actor was good, but there were some points where I wasn't incredibly taken with him. But that could have been the writing too. So because there were certain elements, like his narration was great. I think that was good. It was interesting that it was much more confident than his outward persona would be. His outward persona was nothing like his inner monologue, which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, I didn't have any issue with the main character. I think that he portrayed what he was supposed to portray, and the movie did that. Especially in comparison to the last movie we watched. It's like,
all right. Let it breathe.
Damn it, Keelan.
Damn it, man. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. The last movie made me want to rewatch this movie. Nothing to Keelan.
I can understand.
Comparative analysis, just showing if our listeners watch the last movie and then they watch this movie, they could find the same theme, just two completely different takes on it.
And if this is the same thing, then a Labrador and a Golden Retriever are the same thing. Two different dogs.
No, a Labrador is just a fat Golden Retriever.
I know.
Labradors get so gross when they get older, dude. I don't understand it. They're the cutest puppies. They're absolutely the cutest puppies, but once they get older, they get barrel shaped. They just start having walking problems.
That's funny.
You just got to get a new one once they get too old.
That's fun. Get a new one. Kick it to the side. Kick it to the curb.
Send it upstate to the farm.
I feel like somebody did that recently. Forget who. I don't know. Never mind. Anyways, let's get to our final results, guys.
All right, what's your slice of the pie?
Do you want me to go first?
I'm down.
First. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So like again, I don't want to poo-poo the movie too bad because I am aware of especially the time frame, because what I think turns me off the most about this movie is the 90s edgy boy theme to it. Like
How dare you,
I
sir? No.
it's just I've seen it so many times, and maybe it's because like, you know, like there are so many of those movies out there in that period of time where it's just like fast-paced narrator that uses big words and is super cynical about everything and blah blah blah. And so it's like, yeah, I've heard this all before. But you know, like that's not necessarily its fault. Like it had to be that way. I think the cinematography was okay for most of the shots just because of the high contrast black and white. Shaking cam drives me crazy. Don't do it anymore, people. I know this was
Don't do it.
this is 24 years ago, so they have a you know, like a pass
I'm gonna
on that.
make a movie under a pseudonym. It's just
And it's not gonna be shaking hand.
cam,
God,
and
I
then we're gonna
hate
review
shaky
it.
cam. It's like the Born Identity ruined movies. Like
We
I don't
gotta
know what it is.
Nick,
And at the end,
we gotta get you one of those yardsticks. So when next time somebody does shaky cam, you can say, "Put your hand out. Put your
Yeah.
hand out."
Or just put counterweights on the camera. I know you guys are trying to hide all of the things in the shakiness,
look,
but please
it
just
takes
give me
$10 to make a Steadicam rig, and they knew that
let
in
us
'98.
let a
Right?
scene linger, for God's
Let
sake.
it
I mean,
linger.
geez Louise.
All right,
So you know,
cranberries.
not crazy. Not crazy about the shaky cam. I think that there were some really interesting set pieces. I do think that his apartment room basically was a good set piece. I did like some of the black and white aspects to the shots. Again, very Citizen Kane with high contrast, lots of shadow, playing off of lots of overwash, you know, over exposed whites. That's, you know, like interesting juxtaposition. The acting was a little bit wooden from everybody who wasn't the main character, and that was tough. I think that the corporate lady was really wooden. The neighbor was wooden.
What about Lenny?
Lenny was good. I liked him. I think that he did a good job at being more natural. He didn't feel like he was uptight when he was doing his role. Because he was actually just a Hasidic Jew that knew the Kabbalah. So, but yeah, no, like there are aspects of this movie that I know that are good. I can't say that I like Aronofsky as a stylistic kind of guy. I don't know if I like his style. I was reading up on his movies. You know, he did Mother as well with Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem. You know, it's all good. The movie was entertaining. I think I like the story and the concept of this like dual thing of like finding the algorithm that's going to predict the future and then also the name of God. I thought that was a cool concept. So if I'm going to be fair and non-biased about it, I'm going to give it a 7. I enjoyed aspects of the movie. I think it was good. My quibbles aside, because I think I should be objective about that, I would say, yeah, it doesn't deserve any less than that, in my opinion. So,
Very nice.
mhm.
Keelan.
I don't know if I can articulate my feelings as thoroughly. But I will say this. I do plan on watching this multiple times. As I said at the top, I believe there are things I missed. I believe there is more to gain. And I liked the attempt at complexity, the execution of what was executed, and the mysticism of what was left to be figured out. Uh, a big thing for me in this movie is everything that is explained through the movie. It's either visual, it's verbal, or it's repetitive. So I'm kind of looking at this movie as a puzzle, and I am interested, even though I've already put it together in full pieces, and had you guys' help in making sure that all of those pieces fit properly. I am excited to scrap it and start all over. It's it's kind of like finding something new all over again that you don't quite understand, but you want to.
Nice.
Yeah.
You still got to give it a number though.
Oh
Yeah.
crap!
Somewhere
See,
between
that
1
didn't-
and 10, maybe in halves or decimal values. You can give it
Yeah.
3.14.
There you
I
go.
know what I want to give it. I don't know if it deserves that. That would be. I think that's me giving it too much credit. So I'm gonna go with a 6.5, 6.5.
Okay.
6.5.
Yeah, are you happy?
Yeah,
You look like you're not too sure.
He has
I
a lot
want to
of
watch
buyer's
this again.
remorse when it comes to his
I do
his
every time.
rating sometimes.
Every
So
single time.
are you as sure as the shore kisses the shore?
No, I am not. But again, my reasoning is this is one of I can honestly say this is one of the first times that I've watched a movie and I'm thinking, man, if I had watched this a little earlier, I would have watched it more than one time just to, or at least skim through it more, just to get a better guild on my own rating. This is the first time I can honestly say I don't know if I am sure that is the rating I want to give this, but I'm going to run with a 6.5. It feels better than the number in my head, but it doesn't feel as bad as the opposite number. So yeah.
That's completely fair.
All
Like
right.
just you, like it's fine.
Just I found that even a good middle ground.
Um, for me, like I said, like I love this movie. It's one of the favorites that I wanted to bring to the table. And even rewatching it, I see where like my technical eye hole has some issues with some of the overblown contrasts. Like I wish some of the whites were just brought down a little bit, and some of the blacks were brought up a little bit. Um, but I understand too from just a production standpoint. Sometimes you got to shoot, and once you shot what you shot, that's what you got. So you
Mhm.
got to work. So that's completely fine. Some of the acting too was clunky, to say the nice thing. Some of the dialogue written could have been a little bit better, but by the time those scenes come up, I was so bought into the character, and this probably comes from a personal bias of being able to connect with somebody that can be obsessed with solving a problem. Um, for example, like I brought up now, I think this is like our third time about my computer science education, but when I first approached the problem of different kinds of infinity, um, the difference between the countable infinity versus the uncountable infinity, the actual infinity. I spent weeks thinking about it in its different applications. Like it's the only thing I could think about. Like I'd be standing there in the middle of a party playing ping pong with this girl that I should be flirting with, and in my mind I'm like, yeah, but can really this part of infinity be made discreet? Are you sure? Oh, what'd you say? Oh yeah, no. I think I love that show. That show's amazing. But are you really sure that
Mhm.
And so, like, I can see where something like a problem can become so distracting where it ruins your life, right? It ruins like the typical functions of life. And the first time I saw this movie was even before I approached that problem, but I still found this sort of character so enamoring that my bias may still cloud me. Like to me, um, this is one of those movies, and especially because I love Darren Aronofsky's work after this, and all of this is like a one piece in a artist's study. I would still give this a 10 out of 10. Like it has flaws for sure, but my own personal feelings, my suspension of disbelief, all of that, I still get so pulled into this movie that it's on my TV screen right now, and I'm gonna go
Mhm.
watch it once we're done with this, right? Like, man, that's a double header for me. Like, I watched it before the show to prep, and then I watched it again, but only like half of it again because it's all that time allowed. And then I'm going to go watch it after this. So it's maybe a bit of my obsession coming out of studying this film.
Yeah, just don't drill a hole in your head.
Yeah, exactly. But that
Hey,
is fair.
no promises, right? If it brings
No
you that happiness, if you
No.
just see me here
You have
staring
to
off
promise it. No,
the leaves
you have to promise it.
outside,
Look, that and don't go find any damn NZT. That's stupid too.
All
yeah.
right.
Or
Well,
share the NZT. I don't know.
Good shit, gentlemen. That brings my 7, Keelan's 6.5, and Mike's 10 brings it to a 7.8 out of 10. Solid.
You can call me Biden because I represent inflation.
Hey, there you go. Bring the
Hey
taxes up. All right, guys. You guys have anything else before we wrap it up?
I thought this was going to be about pie.
Sad.
My last thing is, if you want to see this movie, if you want to go see it right now, actually, I had a physical copy of this movie back in the day. I don't know where it went. I think somebody stole it, or through multiple times of moving, it's just gone. But if you want to see it, it's for free with advertisements on YouTube. YouTube has been pulling some good cult.
Just download an ad blocker. You'll be fine. YouTube hasn't realized there's such a thing as ad blocker.
Yeah, but if you know where to find YouTube and the best browser extensions like AD block, which really brings the movie together, you can watch this movie too for free completely. And then props to the humans who are picking movies at YouTube Movies for free, because there's like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
There's some
like
decent ones.
Yeah. There's some decent films on there.
They like movies.
Yeah. So yeah, it's completely for free. You don't have an excuse. And then if you don't like it, put comments on this video about how I suck at watching movies, and that's awesome.
Awesome. Sweet.
That was right.
All right, everybody. We thank you so much for listening tonight. And we hope that you enjoyed this episode. I know that I certainly did. I enjoy every time we get together and talk about movies. It's a lot of fun. And we hope that you enjoy as well. And Keelan's going to be saluting for a second because my wrap up isn't short. So thanks so much, you guys, for listening. Please consider
a little crazy.
Yeah. Please consider giving us a like and a thumbs up on our YouTube page. It would really help us out. A subscription would help us out as well. We would very much appreciate that. We're here every Sunday and Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. So be sure to check in with us. We are reviewing all your favorite movies and video games and TV shows. You never know what you're going to get, but you're going to get it on Sunday and Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. We also have podcasts on our own. Keelan's got a podcast. It's called If Numbers Could Talk. It's on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Please be sure to go check him out on YouTube and Facebook, If Numbers Could Talk. He's giving you stats and numbers and figures and rundowns on things such as sports, the movie industry, cars. What do you got for him this week, Keelan?
Actually, we've been having some things going on over at If Numbers Could Talk. So we're not quite sure what we're coming with next, but we definitely want to bring a few different things, seeing as how everything is still moving and we have plenty of information compiling.
So you know that what that means. What you have to do is go to If Numbers Could Talk and hit that bell button. So that way, when he does post a video, you're notified about it. Simple as that.
That's right.
And me and Mike have a podcast. It's called ExoFathom. We're on Monday nights at 8 p.m. You can check us out on YouTube and Facebook. We're also on Verbal, Rumble, and Odyssey at ExoFathom. And we are on again Monday nights at 8 p.m. We got a friend of the podcast and co-host Dijon the Mustard. He is doing a live stream on Twitch. It's called Strawberries and Coffee. Please go check his channel out and show him some love. Make sure you subscribe to him as well. He's streaming video games on Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 10:30 p.m. So go give him some love. He's also on YouTube, so be sure to check him out. Give him a thumbs up. Give him a subscription. Let him know that we miss him. And yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Dijon actually did an impromptu yesterday. He was playing more.
Yeah. So again, another reason to hit that notification bell, because you'll get updated as soon as he does his impromptu live stream. So
angry that you haven't changed the damn graphic.
You're right there, dude. You're right there. Look at
you're
at the bottom. You're there.
Oh, I see.
See, yeah. Nick, Keelan, Dijon, and Mike.
I'm talking about the intro.
I know the intro.
I want the animation. I want the little.
I know.
Want the fancy.
I need to do it. I will. Next time.
No, it's all good. Dijon knows I love him.
Yeah.
He's
and
not better than me.
No. We can have a fight about that. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you purists out there who just check in with us on Wednesdays and Sundays. Thank you for taking this trip through the Screen Time Continuum. For Screen Time Continuum, I am Nick.
I am Keelan.
And I'm Headphones.
Good night, everyone.
Why did you think it was about pie?